Hey, what's up guys, and welcome to an introduction to the Powah Mod. Powah being Powah. So, in this mod, there are 7 different types of upgrades. It starts off with the starter, then the basic, then the hardened, then it goes to blazing, niotic, spirited, nitro, well, and then creative is just creative. But it has one, two, three, four, five, six, seven different tiers. Um, then each tier, or so, the first item that you would typically want to make is the energy cell. This is what's going to hold your power. So with the starter cell, it has a max input output of 1k FE a tick and can hold 1 million power. The basic cell, it can hold 4 million with a 4,000 FE a tick. And then hardened 10 million, 10k. Blazing 40 million, 40k. Niotic 100 million, 100k. Spirited 400 million, 400k. Nitro 2 billion, and then 2 million input output. And then energy cell is infinite power. So this energy cell typically works is you hook up a generator of some type. Right here I just have a just a magma generator. Let me get a wrench real quick. Yeah. So with a magma generator, it's just gonna put in lava. It's gonna start generating Fe. This is just in this pipe, but yeah. But there's something called an ender cell as well. As you can see, it's getting power. It's getting power from this. Again, it goes up. Every tier has 7 tiers, with the starter being a max input output of 1k, 4k, 10k, 40k, 100k, 400k, and then 2 million. And then that's what they all look like. Then to craft it, it takes 4 obsidian. For the basic one, it takes 4 iron and then 1 ender core. To make the more advanced ones, for nitro, it's going to take the nitro crystals, spirited crystals for spirited, niotic for niotic, blazing for blazing, hardened for hardened, or energized sealed for hardened. But yeah, basic is just iron. But this has a max input output of 4k a tick. So to create a ender core that we saw in this last crafting, we're going to want to take 1 tiny capacitor, an iron vendor, and a dielectric cell or casting, and then throw it all into an energizing orb. And it's going to get energized by some energizing rods. I'll show how to make that here in a second. But this is also getting powered from the energy cell. Well, it's taking power from the energy cell. It's putting it into the ender cell, which was this part. It's basically communicating from the ender cell to the other ender cell and telling, hey, it has power now, and then shooting into this energizing orb. So it's completely wireless from here to here. They can be anywhere in your world. They don't have to be this close to each other. In that case, you got your ender core. So for the energizing orb, to make this, it takes 3 dielectric rods, dielectric casting, and then 5 glass. And then that's how you get the energizing orb. And to make the dielectric rods, it's going to take dielectric paste, which for dielectric paste, it takes 2 coal, 1 clay, and 1 blaze powder. This gives you 16 dielectric paste. Or if you want 24, it takes 3 coal, 2 clay, and 1 lava. And that will give you 24 dielectric paste. And with dielectric paste to make the dielectric rods, Yeah, to make the dielectric rods, it takes 6 dielectric paste and then 3 iron bars to make either sideways or vertical rods. And then now for energy cables. Again, there are the 7 types of cables. And starter is 500 FE a tick, basic 2K, hardened 5K, blazing 20K, niotic 50K, spirited 200K, nitro 1 million. So to make the basic energy cable, it takes 1 basic capacitor and then 6 of the dielectric rods. And that's how you make the basic capacitor. And then if you want to make the any of these, it's just going to take the capacitor of that type and then 2 of that core. I'd honestly suggest doing it this way other than this way, just because it's easier. Unless you need to upgrade it, it gives you less that way. But every tier is just like that. Now, gates. Gates are good for basically communicating with the ender cells. So every ender cell has about 12 types. With the basic, you only get 2 different ports to choose from, but it goes all the way up to 12 with the nitro. The starter has 1. I think the basic has 2. The hardened has 3. Here, let's grab all of these real quick. Blazing has 5. Niotic has 7. Spirited has 9, and then nitro has 12. But with the gates, so to craft the gates, it takes 4 obsidian, the tier cable of your choice. So if you want nitro, you'll need the 4 nitro cables, and then an ender core in order to craft this. Then, yeah, I'll show what we can do with the ender gates later, but it's pretty much just slap it anywhere and you can charge it. Yeah, like here we have ender gate and it's charging all of these things. So now the energizing rod. So energizing rod is what we used over here to make that ender core. You just slap it on a power supply of some sort, and then have it pointed towards a energizing orb, and it will power this whatever's in here and feed it power where it needs to craft for what it needs to craft. So to make the energizing rod, it takes 1 dielectric rod, 1 nether quartz, and then 2 basic capacitors. That was loud. But 2 basic capacitors and then 1 dielectric casting, and that's how you make the starter dielectric rod. And actually, if you want to go straight to nitro, this is the items you'll need for it. So you'll need 7 dielectric castings. You can use any type of quartz block. It shows smoky quartz. Ignore that. That can just be any type of quartz block. 2 hardened capacitors, 2 basic capacitors, 2 niotic capacitors, 2 tiny capacitors, 2 spirited capacitors, 2 blazing capacitors, 2 nitro capacitors, 1 nether quartz, and 1 dielectric rod. And that's what you'll need to craft 1 nitro energizing rod. Now, for the furnace. This is a furnator. It generates power with coal, as you can see. So you throw coal in, it's going to start eating it up and then start generating power. So to make this, it takes 3 or 5 dielectric paste, 1 furnace, 2 basic capacitors, and then 1 dielectric casing. And it goes all the way up to nitro. And with the starter, it generates 80 FE a tick. The basic generates 160 FE a tick, so about double. The hardened generates 400 FE a tick, which is double plus 40, I believe. No, more than that actually. Double plus 80. The blazing, which generates 1,000 a tick, which is again double plus 100. Then the next one generates 2,000 a tick, which is double. And then spirited generates 8,000 a tick, which is quadruple. And then nitro generates 20k FE a tick. And that is double plus 4k. So as you can see, it goes up fairly fast once you start upgrading them. So the only issue with this is that you'll constantly need coal. As you can see, it's out of coal, and it only really generated 3 million FE, which is still a lot. But there is also a thermo generator. So this basically uses lava, or I think it can use a torch as a heat source. And then it uses water to cool it, and a sink is in this water. And I just have a pipe going into it. But it generates pretty much endless power for little to no cost. Because for a sink, to craft a sink, all it takes is 5 terracotta, 1 water bucket, 3 iron ingots to craft a sink. And that basically gives you endless water, and then you have endless heat with lava. So it's endless power at that point. But the downside to it is that it only generates 3.5k FE a tick compared to the coal generator, which generates 20 FE a tick. But to make this, it takes 3 thermal plates, and to make thermo plates, it takes 4 redstone, 4 blaze powder, and then a basic capacitor, and that's how you get a thermo plate. Once you get the thermal plates, it takes 2 more basic capacitors, a dielectric casting, and then 3 dielectric pastes. And then for the thermo generators, it generates 40, then 80, then 150, then 300 FE a tick, then 600 FE a tick, then 1.5k FE a tick, and then 3.5k FE a tick. And as you can see up here, here's all the different thermo generators. Next we have the magmator. So to craft this, it takes 5 dielectric pastes, 2 basic capacitors, 1 dielectric casting, and 1 bucket in order to make the starter magmator. And then if you want to go all the way up to nitro, this is all the items you'll need to upgrade it all the way to nitro. So you'll need 8 iron ingots, 6 dielectric castings, 5 blaze rods, 5 emeralds, 3 gold, 2 niotic capacitors, 2 spirited capacitors, 2 hardened capacitors, 2 basic capacitors, 2 blazing capacitors, 2 redstone blocks, 2 nitro capacitors, 1 nether star, and 1 blaze crystal. 1 block of blazing crystal. And that's how you are able to craft the magmator nitro. And this takes lava to generate power. And this generates the same as the coal, 20k FE a tick. So solar panels. These do not work in the nighttime, sadly, because they are solar panels. So, for the photoelectric panes, it takes 1, 2, 3, 4 dielectric pastes. It takes 4 dielectric pastes, 4 lapis, and 1 glass pane to make 1 photoelectric pane. With that photoelectric pane, you need 3 of those, 2 basic capacitors, 1 dielectric casting, and then 3 more 3 dielectric pastes to create 1 starter solar panel. And then it goes. I actually have these in the wrong order, I think. No? Yeah. So, the best solar panel. I'm actually missing one. So the best solar panel generates 200k FE a tick, while Spirited, is that right? Generates 50k FE a tick. So the Nitro, yeah, generates 50k FE a tick, Spirited 16k, Niotic 5k, Blazing 1.5k, Hardened 400, Basic 120, Starter 40, which is still really good, judging that it's free power from the sun. So to get, so as you can see, it's not generating any power. That's because blocks are on top of it. But if you want to go through blocks, at least, you need to grab the photoelectric pane, which is this crafting, and right click an Enderman with it, and it'll give you a lens of Ender. And what the lens of Ender will do is you slap it on there, and it will look through all the blocks. So you can put it in a basement or in a underground base and still be able to generate energy. But it still, however, has to be day. So now, reactors. This is the big, actually, with solar panels, let me go over, so solar, if you want to go straight for the Niotic, this is what all you'll need. You'll need 1,000, basically 200 dielectric paste, 956 lapis, 239 panes. It doesn't have to be monoglass pane. It can be any type of glass pane. 160 tiny capacitors, 120 dielectric castings, 95 iron ingots, 54 basic capacitors, 18 hardened capacitors, 14 gold ingots, 9 blaze rods, 6 blazing capacitors, and 2 niotic capacitors. And then, so next is the reactor. With the reactor, there's of course the 7 types. With the first type, it can generate up to 250 FE a tick. Second type, 1k FE a tick. Hardened is 2.5k FE a tick. Blazing is 10k FE a tick. Niotic is 25k FE a tick. Spirit is 100k FE a tick. And then Nitro is 250k FE a tick. And to craft it, it takes 4 uranite, 4 basic capacitors, and then 1 dielectric casting. And these are the different types shown. You do, however, need 36 reactor blocks in order to create the reactor. But each time you craft, it crafts 4. And then this is how to create the Nitro. It's just 4 nitro capacitors and then Spirited to create Spirited. It's 4 Spirited capacitors and the Niotic. To craft Niotic, it's 4 Blazing and Niotic. Hardened, it's Blazing and Hardened. To make Hardened, it's 4 Hardened and Basic. And to make Basic, it's 4 Starter and Basic capacitors. This generates the most power out of the Powah Mod, with it generating up to 250k FE a tick. And to use this, there is different ways. It takes water, so that's why I have a sink here. So that's one ingredient it uses. It also uses coal, redstone, uranite, and ice. It can be any type of ice. It can be packed ice, regular ice, or blue ice. Blue ice will do the best. Dry ice will actually do the best, but that is a Powah ice. So with just using uranite, as you can see, it's generating 140k, around 120 to 140k FE a tick. If I throw in the redstone, it's going to be generating about 160 to 140 FE a tick. If I throw in coal, it's going to start generating about 175 to 150, 163 to 150 FE a tick. If I throw in blue ice as well, it will start generating 168k FE a tick. So it's not quite, or 193 FE a tick. It's not quite at the 250 mark. Dry ice is probably the best to get there. And to craft dry ice, it actually takes, I think, two blue ice in. So if we take 2 blue ice, we throw them in here, it will actually make dry ice. With dry ice, that's how we should be able to get to that 250 mark. Obviously, it's not going to do it right now because it still had that coolant in there with the blue ice. But to get uranite, which was the main ingredient to power the system, it's just an ore found throughout the world. There's pore chunks, regular chunks, and dense chunks. And then all you have to do is smelt the raw uranite to get uranite. Next are player transmitters. What players transmitters do is it lets everything in your inventory be powered, as you can see with this crafting terminal. And or I have a flight ring on me that requires power, and since I have a player transmitter hooked up already, I'm able to use it. So with the player transmitter, there's different types. So depending on how much power you really need to pull, there is a 1K, a 4K, a 10K, a 40K, 100K, 400K, 2 million, and a 2 million. I would highly suggest getting one of these if you want endless power to be at anywhere and everywhere with terminals, jetpacks, any type of item that requires power that is in your inventory. So with this, to craft a player transmitter, you need 1 dielectric rod, 2 basic capacitors, 1 dielectric casting, and a player aerial pearl. To get a player aerial pearl, you'll need to craft an aerial pearl. To craft an aerial pearl, it's 4 dielectric paste, 4 iron bars, and 1 ender pearl. I actually have it right up here. That's how you get the aerial pearl. With the aerial pearl, all you need is a zombie, and to capture the zombie, and it'll give you a player aerial pearl. Once you get this player aerial pearl, you're able to craft the player transmitter. And if you want to go all the way up to Niotic with the player transmitter, here's all the items you'll need. I'll just hover it. And then once you get this player transmitter, you'll need what's called a binding card. And to craft the binding card, it takes 1 blank card, 2 redstone dust, and a rotten flesh. And to craft a blank card, what it takes is just 2 dielectric rods side by side or up and down. That's how you craft the card. And that's how you get the binding card. And then if you want to be able to power everything through dimensions, then you will need an Enderman. You'll need to go out, find an Enderman with your binding card, right click it, and it will make your binding card dimensional. Once it's in there, you can turn it on, power it up, and as you can see, I'm getting power in this battery just sitting in my inventory now. Next are batteries, which there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah, 7 different types. The main use for these is just for storage. So battery is 1K for starter, 4K, 10K, 40K, 100K, 400K, and then 2 million. To craft it, it takes 4 dielectric pastes, 4 basic capacitors, and 1 redstone block. Then with the batteries itself, in your ender cell that we crafted all the way down there, you actually need to throw a battery in here in order to give it more power. So as you can see, it's at 4 billion now. So each one gives a little bit. So this is at 4 billion. You're not going to be able to see it, sadly. But it just added 1K. This will add 4K. This will add 10K. This will add 40K. This one will add 100 million. This one will add 400 million. And this one will add 2 billion. Sorry, I misread that. It's going to add however much is stored. So 1 million stored, 4 million, 10 million, 40 million, 100 million, 400 million, and then 2 billion. Next are energy hoppers. To craft an energy hopper, it takes 5 dielectric pastes, 2 basic capacitors, 1 dielectric casting, and 1 hopper. And that's how you are able to craft the energy hopper. If you want to go for the niotic one, it takes 35 pastes, 7 dielectric castings, 2 hardened capacitors, 2 basic capacitors, 2 niotic capacitors, 2 basic capacitors, 2 spirited, 2 blazing, 2 nitro, and 1 hopper. Also for the battery, if you wanted to craft that just straight to here, it'll take 4 dielectric pastes, 3 redstone blocks, 2 nitro capacitors, 1 blazing crystal, 1 nether star, 1 spirited battery. To make the spirited, it takes the same thing. Now, so with the energy hopper, you can, this is just an energy cell, just charging the energy hopper, and any battery that you put into this chest, it will charge now. Just like it being in an inventory, with the player transmitter, the energy hopper will charge batteries into any item or any chest. Now with these batteries, there is something called an energy discharger, and with the different types has a max extract rate of 1K, 4K, 10K, 40K, 100K, 400K, 2 million. And to craft it, it takes 3 dielectric pastes, 6 dielectric pastes, 2 capacitors, and 1 dielectric casting. And then you can just throw the battery in here and it will start charging this energy cell or ender cell. You can throw either an energy cell or an ender cell into this area and it'll discharge this battery and feed it into the cell itself. That's the basics of the Powah Mod. Over here is where I crafted just a monstrosity of energizing orbs. So there's different types of the material. The first tier was the hardened, second tier was the blazing, third tier was the niotic, fourth tier spirited, fifth tier is nitro. And to craft each, let me go in creative. Oops. So to craft each, for the hardened, it takes 1 gold, 1 iron, and it's going to craft you energized steel. For For blazing, it's just a blaze rod. For niotic, it's just a diamond. For spirited, it's just an emerald. And then for nitro, nitro. Hold on. So for nitro, it takes 1 nether star, 2 redstone blocks, and a block of blazing crystal. And that is how you craft the nitro crystal. If you want to set up an automatic crafter for all of this, it just takes 1 import bus. If you are using the applied energistics setup, it takes 1 import bus, and then 1 ME pattern provider. And then you want to set the ME pattern provider to blocked. That way, whenever you go in and you say you want to craft, let's say on obtanium, as you can see, I'm unleashing the power of the sun with how many energizing rods I have. But it's not going to throw any more into here when it's blocked, and as soon as it finishes, it will extract from the energizing orb and throw it into the ME system. I personally find this to be the best way to power it, the energizing rods. The setup is I'm using 1 gate, 1 cable, and then 4 or 5, depending on the location, energizing rods. Basically just making a dome to energize it. Obviously, if you don't have that much materials, you don't have to. All you really need is just 1. It'll get it done. It'll get the job done. And then also, if you want to automate your reactor, your nitro reactor, you can hook it up to your ME system, do an export bus of redstone, coal, uranite, and ice, the type of ice you are using, and then it's all automatically going to be inputted into this little section here. Again, I have another sink connected, and then it's generating power into here. It's pulling the power. So that is all that I have for the Powah mod. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. If you want to see any other in-depth detail about any other mod, please leave a suggestion. Anyways, that's it for the video. All right, bye.